people ask why I hated Reggie Miller, here's your answer.
Answer. Out of all the rivalries MJ ever had, none burned hotter than his hatred for Reggie Miller. And when I say hatred, I'm talking about the kind that sticks with you for decades. The kind that eats at your pride every time you hear that name. Reggie didn't just talk trash. He got under Jordan's skin in a way nobody else ever managed to. He pushed MJ to lose his cool and even made him swing on him right there in the middle of a game. We're diving straight into why Michael Jordan really couldn't stand Reggie Miller. And trust me, it goes way deeper than just basketball. To understand where this grudge came from, we gotta rewind all the way back to 1987, an exhibition game that changed everything. Reggie had just entered the league, young, loud, and ready to prove he belonged. Like every other rookie, he wanted to test himself against the best.
You're right, Michael. Who do you think you are? The great Michael Jordan? That's right, there's a new kid on town, right?
But unlike the rest, Reggie made one big mistake. He opened his mouth way too early. Jordan wasn't even locked in during the first half. He had just 4 points. Reggie thought he saw weakness, thought the GOAT was off his game, so he did what Reggie does best. He ran his mouth. He poked the bear and said something slick that would end up haunting him for years. Imagine trash-talking a man in his 3rd season who's already averaging 37 points a game. That takes serious nerve. The wild part? MJ didn't even respond much. He just smirked, nodded, and went quiet. But that silence was dangerous. Because when the second half started, it was like a switch flipped. The calm Jordan disappeared, and the killer came out. Jordan went off like a man possessed, hitting shots from everywhere, dunking, locking in with that cold stare that made entire arenas go silent. He dropped bucket after bucket until the crowd couldn't believe what they were seeing. By the time it was over, MJ had torched Reggie for more than 40 points, and Reggie, he was humbled. He even admitted later it was the first and last time he ever tried talking trash to Michael Jordan. That exhibition game might have looked like fun back then, but in reality, it lit a fire that never went out. From that day forward, Reggie wasn't just another opponent. He was the rookie who disrespected MJ. And if there's one thing Jordan never did, it was let something go. What started as a preseason joke turned into a rivalry that stretched for years. Every time the Bulls faced the Pacers, it felt personal. By the time 1993 rolled around, things had reached a breaking point. It wasn't just competition anymore. It was war. The tension exploded into an all-out fight right there on the court.
1 on 2, 1 on 3, Pooh couldn't get it. And put back, oh, it did fall. Now Michael Jordan and Reggie Miller having a go at it. And I mean, we got fist throwing, here come the benches.
And by then, Reggie wasn't some new kid. He was the face of the Pacers, dropping 20 a night and building a reputation as the league's most annoying sharpshooter. Not the talk-to-the-ref type annoying, the cling-to-you-like static, never-shut-up, always-in-your-face kind that drives legends crazy. When Indiana and Chicago clashed that March, you could feel the tension in the air. It was electric. The Bulls were chasing that legendary three-peat. MJ was sitting at the absolute peak of his power, and Reggie Miller, he was desperate to prove the Pacers weren't just extras in the Michael Jordan movie. The game got rough, elbows flying, tempers rising, and then boom, it exploded right in front of the world. But here's the thing, that wasn't just a random scuffle. For Jordan, it was about respect, a sacred code. You could challenge him, you could even get physical, but if you ever acted like you were on his level, that was crossing the line. And Reggie didn't just cross it, he danced right over it with a grin on his face. That 1993 fight showed everyone just how real their beef was, but nothing compared to what went down 5 years later.
2.9 seconds. Harper's on Miller. McKee gets it into Miller for the win.
The 1998 Eastern Conference Finals turned their rivalry into legend. It was MJ's so-called last dance, his final shot at a 6th ring in 8 years. The Bulls dynasty was running on fumes, but the Pacers, they'd built a squad ready for war. Rick Smits, Mark Jackson, Chris Mullin, and a young, hungry Jalen Rose. This wasn't just Reggie versus Mike anymore. This was two titans colliding, both refusing to blink. And the Pacers? They weren't scared one bit. That series went all the way to 7 games. Pure chaos from start to finish. Chicago had history, banners, and the greatest of all time. Indiana had nothing to lose, and Reggie Miller thrived on that kind of madness.
If I had to pick a team that gave us the toughest time in the East, Indiana was probably the toughest outside of Detroit.
Game 4, though, that's where the rivalry hit its peak. Pacers down by 1, seconds left, and the ball lands in Reggie's hands on the wing. And who's guarding him? Michael freaking Jordan. MJ was glued to him like a shadow, not giving an inch. Most players would freeze in that moment, but not Reggie. He gave MJ a hard shove, stepped back, and drilled a cold-blooded 3 with less than a second left. Market Square Arena exploded. Fans lost their minds. Reggie sprinted away, pounding his chest like he'd just taken down a god. And honestly, in that moment, it looked like he had.
On the drive, in from the left, gets chased into the corner, comes right back. Through the foul!
That shove became the symbol of their entire feud. Bold, disrespectful, and unforgettable. Seriously, who else in history would dare to push Michael Jordan in a playoff game on national TV? Nobody. And the wildest part? The refs didn't even call a foul. Imagine the meltdown if that happened in today's NBA. The memes would break the internet.
Jordan putting the move on Porter.
For Indiana, that moment was proof. They weren't scared of the Bulls' mystique anymore. For Jordan, though, it was personal humiliation. He already couldn't stand Reggie, but now the man was shoving him in front of millions and walking away a hero. And don't forget, even MJ himself later admitted it. Outside of the bad boy Pistons, he said the Pacers were the toughest team he ever faced in the East. That says everything. And that right there is the wild arc of it all. The rookie trash talk gone wrong in '87, the all-out brawl in '93, and that legendary shove in '98 that nearly shook a dynasty. But even after all that chaos, one question still lingers. Why did Michael Jordan single out Reggie Miller more than anyone else? Because this beef? It wasn't just about basketball? It was personal. Here's where things start to get crazy. Jordan had rivalries with every big name in the 90s. Barkley, Ewing, Drexler, Isaiah. But when you line them up side by side, there's something different about how he saw Reggie.
People have asked me for years why I couldn't stand Reggie Miller. It wasn't the trash talk or even the way he played. It was the way he carried himself, like he actually thought he was built like me. That's when I knew he had no idea who he was messing with.
Take Charles Barkley, for example. On the court, those two went at it like gladiators. Barkley even snatched the 1993 MVP right out of Jordan's hands. And their finals battle that year was brutal. Two superstars trading buckets, attitude, and dominance. But off the court, they were tight. Jordan actually liked Barkley. They golfed together, chilled, and shared that alpha energy where both knew they were top dogs. The beef that came later, when Barkley called out Jordan's ownership of the Hornets, that was business, not personal. Then you've got Patrick Ewing. Bulls versus Knicks was straight-up war every spring. Ewing took beating after beating from MJ, but he never folded, and Jordan respected that toughness. There was mutual respect between them, no fakeness. When MJ talked about his hardest playoff battles, he always mentioned the Knicks because of Ewing's heart and fight.
I don't want people to think that it was some big rivalry, because a rivalry to me is we are on equal footing. I was never on equal footing with MJ, okay? But I loved the battles. And I know a lot of players that I played against, they would bow down to him. And that just was not going to be me. It was not in my nature to do that. So maybe I was hard-headed. Maybe I should have bowed down to him.
Now, Clyde Drexler, the media tried to sell him as Jordan's equal. Big mistake. The 1992 finals proved otherwise. Jordan lit him up like it was personal revenge, dropping 6 threes in one half just to send a message. He completely destroyed that narrative, but still gave Clyde props afterward, calling him one of the league's greats. That's classic MJ. He'd destroy you and then still respect your grind. Isaiah Thomas, though, that was a whole different beast. The Bulls and Pistons hated each other. The tension was so real, you could feel it through the TV. MJ and Zeke couldn't even be in the same room without that silent tension. But even that hate had structure. It was rooted in competition, not pettiness. Now compare all of that to Reggie Miller. With Reggie, there was zero respect. None. No, he made me better. No, he was one of the greats I had to go through. Nothing. For MJ, Reggie wasn't a rival. He was a nuisance, a loudmouth who hadn't earned the right to poke at the throne but kept doing it anyway. Jordan didn't see Miller as a threat. He saw him as a pest buzzing around greatness. That's what made the whole thing so personal. Reggie wasn't challenging his talent, he was challenging his ego. And for a man like MJ, that was unforgivable. And if you think that's an exaggeration, you don't even have to take my word for it. You can hear it straight from Jordan himself. And that's the key difference right there. Barkley got respect, Ewing got respect. Even Isaiah Thomas, a man Jordan couldn't stand, still got a bit of respect. But Reggie Miller, he got none. That's where it got personal. In one interview with ESPN, Jordan didn't even try to hide it. He straight up said, "I don't really dislike anybody in the league, but playing Reggie Miller drives me nuts. It's like chicken fighting with a woman. His game is all this flopping type thing. He weighs only 185 pounds, so you have to be careful. Don't touch him or it's a foul. He's got his hands on you all the time, like a woman holding your waist. I just want to beat his hands off because it's illegal. It irritates me." Now that's a brutal statement. MJ wasn't just saying Reggie was annoying, he was roasting his entire style of play. To Jordan, Reggie wasn't playing man's basketball. He was playing this crafty, referee-baiting, sneaky version of it that drove him up the wall. That chicken fighting line showed exactly how MJ viewed him. Not as a true rival, but as someone who didn't even deserve to be on the same court. That's vintage Jordan. It wasn't about stats or even trash talk. It was about dominance. MJ wanted to crush you so bad that you'd never dare challenge him again. He didn't just beat opponents on the scoreboard. He broke them mentally. That was his real power. Total psychological control. But Reggie Miller? He refused to play along with that script. That's what made him dangerous.
It brought back a lot of those good and bad memories of going against that dude.
Were you interviewed for this?
Again, reluctantly, yes. I tried to fight it. I actually did. I didn't
Reg,
want to do it.
You know that Michael had to approve everybody.
Most players who faced MJ just kept their heads down when he started going off. They might try to score a few, maybe throw a glare, but deep down they knew who they were dealing with. The best to ever do it. Not Reggie, though. He'd hit a three right in MJ's face, jog back down the court, and whisper something slick in his ear. He'd throw a little elbow into Jordan's ribs, fall dramatically the moment MJ touched him, and then throw his hands in the air yelling, "You see that, ref?" That's the stuff that made Jordan lose it. Because in MJ's world, there was an order. Michael Jordan ruled the league and everyone else just fought for scraps. But Reggie? He acted like he missed that memo completely. He didn't bow, didn't flinch, didn't care. And the craziest part? He just kept poking the bear over and over again. Remember, this wasn't some finals MVP or a league superstar we're talking about. This was Reggie Miller, a skinny, sharp-tongued shooter from Indiana who refused to show fear. He was like that one kid in school who keeps tapping your shoulder no matter how mad you get. And instead of running away when you turn around, he just keeps tapping harder. That's what made this rivalry so wild. MJ lived for control. Reggie lived to break it. And that's why their battles never felt like just basketball games.
That team, Curry had a notion there to Barnes. Green and James jawing at each other while play continues. Iguodala the pull-up. That won't go.
They were ego wars. Jordan hated it. Every single bit of it. Reggie Miller chipped away at the aura MJ spent his whole career building. Jordan wanted silence when he walked in the room, fear in opponents' eyes, and total submission on the court. But Reggie? He gave him smirks, flops, sneaky fouls, and nonstop trash talk. It stopped being basketball. It became psychological warfare. And the wildest part? Reggie was the only one bold enough to keep swinging, even knowing MJ could crush him whenever he wanted. If you still need proof that Reggie wasn't scared of anyone, especially not Michael Jordan, just look back at the 1998 Eastern Conference Finals. That shove, yeah, that one, became one of the most replayed highlights in NBA history. It summed up everything about their rivalry. Jordan, the untouchable legend, versus Reggie, the fearless underdog who literally pushed the GOAT out of his way. But that series wasn't just about one shot. It was a war for survival. If Indiana had pulled that off, Jordan's legacy would have changed forever. No perfect 6-0 finals record, no clean dynasty ending. Everything could have been rewritten. By 1998, the bad boy Pistons were history. The Knicks were beaten down, and the rest of the East had already folded. But Indiana, they still believed, they refused to be scared. Reggie was the face of that rebellion. He carried himself like he didn't care who Michael Jordan was, and that infuriated MJ. For years, Jordan crushed opponents until they bowed down, but Reggie kept coming back, still talking, still flopping, still hitting daggers with the game on the line. He was like a glitch in Jordan's system, a reminder that no amount of dominance could silence every challenger. And when The Last Dance dropped in 2020, that old fire reignited. Watching Jordan talk about Reggie all these years later, you could still see the edge in his eyes. He laughed, telling that old 1987 story. The first time Reggie ever talked trash to him, smirked and said, "They call me Black Jesus." That wasn't a compliment to Reggie. That was MJ reminding everyone. This kid had no idea who he was messing with. Even decades later, Jordan still hadn't let it go. Reggie's words lived rent-free in his head. And Reggie? He's been real about it too. On the Dan Patrick Show in 2020, he admitted he didn't even want to do his interview for The Last Dance. Why? Because he knew Michael had to approve everyone who appeared in it. That says it all. Think about that. After all these years, MJ could still laugh with Charles Barkley on the golf course, at least before their 2012 fallout. He's always been cool with Magic Johnson. Even Isaiah Thomas, one of his biggest enemies, got at least a grudging acknowledgement. But Reggie Miller? Nothing. No laughs, no friendly banter, no fake smiles. Just that same cold distance that's lasted for decades. That tells you everything. Guys like Ewing, Barkley, and Drexler earned Jordan's respect. They fought hard, took their losses, and still got that nod from the king. But Reggie? He never got the handshake. He was the one who got under Jordan's skin in a way nobody else ever did. Even in retirement, the tension lingers. Proof that Reggie Miller didn't just challenge the GOAT, he bothered him. And for a man like Michael Jordan, that's the ultimate insult. Now it finally makes sense why MJ was so irritated by Reggie Miller, because unlike most NBA rivalries, theirs wasn't built on legacy or power, it was built on pure annoyance. Most famous feuds in the league have some bigger story behind them. But this one? It was just personal pride and endless trash talk. Look at Shaq and Kobe, for example. That wasn't just two teammates bumping heads in practice. That was a full-blown personality clash while they were trying to run the league together. Shaq thought Kobe was way too uptight, and Kobe thought Shaq was lazy. Straight up said it. The Lakers' locker room turned into chaos long before reality TV made that kind of drama popular. Phil Jackson wasn't just coaching basketball, he was babysitting egos like he was running a daycare for superstars. The wildest part? It worked. Because no matter how toxic it got, that beef came with banners, 3 straight championships while barely tolerating each other. That's legendary chaos. Fans still argue over who mattered more during that run, Shaq's dominance or Kobe's fire. But in the end, the results spoke louder than the drama. Looking back now, people laugh at how crazy it was that two guys who could barely stand each other still built a dynasty together. Then you've got LeBron and Draymond, another rivalry that exploded in front of millions. Flashback to the 2016 finals. The Cavs were hanging on for dear life against the Warriors. The pressure was unreal, and that's when everything flipped. LeBron stepped over Draymond, Draymond snapped, and that infamous groin incident got him suspended. That one suspension changed basketball history. It cracked the door wide open. Cleveland stormed back from down 3-1, and LeBron delivered that iconic "Cleveland, this is for you" speech on the floor. The moment went down as one of the coldest in NBA history. But even with all that heat, there was still respect. Draymond later called LeBron one of the smartest players he's ever faced. And LeBron, he doesn't waste energy on people he doesn't respect. That's the difference right there. Even the fiercest NBA rivals usually share some level of mutual acknowledgement. Jordan and Reggie, though, that respect never existed. Their feud wasn't about dominance, championships, or even revenge. It was about irritation. And that's why it burned deeper than any other rivalry in Jordan's career. He doesn't rate that one the same, because that rivalry burned hot, but it was fueled by competition, not hatred. Now compare that to KD and Westbrook. That one hit way deeper. That wasn't about X's and O's or basketball schemes. It was personal. Those two were supposed to be the future of the league together, OKC's own version of Jordan and Pippen. Westbrook thought he had his ride-or-die partner for the long haul, the one he'd win rings with. Then KD dipped, and not just anywhere, he joined the very team that had just eliminated them. To Westbrook, that felt like straight-up betrayal. Suddenly, All-Star weekends turned icy. Russ wouldn't even make eye contact. Thunder fans booed every time KD touched the ball, and KD, he fired back online using burner accounts like it was high school beef. For a while, it felt like the coldest breakup in NBA history. But over time, that fire cooled down. Russ kept grinding, putting up numbers, carrying teams on his back. KD collected rings, MVPs, and redemption in Golden State. The drama faded. People still talk about it, sure, but it doesn't sting like it did in 2016. And that's where Jordan and Reggie's story stands out. Their feud wasn't about sharing a locker room like Shaq and Kobe, or finals tension like LeBron and Draymond, or betrayal like KD and Russ. No. This one was built on something smaller, but way nastier: irritation. It was about pride, ego, and one man refusing to bow down to the other. Reggie wasn't MJ's equal, not even close. But that's exactly why the beef cut so deep. Because even decades later, Jordan still remembers that rookie trash talk, still laughs about it, still calls himself Black Jesus when telling the story. That's not just memory. That's proof the irritation never really died. This wasn't just about who scored more points or who won more games. It was about respect. And the crazy thing, that irritation didn't just stay between them. It changed basketball for everyone watching. Bulls versus Pacers in the 90s wasn't just another matchup. It was must-see TV. Every time those teams met, fans tuned in expecting chaos, tension, flare-ups, and that unpredictable energy that came whenever Reggie dared to poke the ultimate bear. Reggie's legacy is forever tied to those moments, to being the one guy bold enough to rattle Michael Jordan and actually get under his skin. And when MJ ultimately came out on top, it didn't just cement his dominance, it amplified it. It turned the legend into myth. The media loved it. The cold-blooded superstar versus the mouthy underdog. Every shove, every flop, every clutch shot, replayed 1,000 times like it was scripted for TV. It was the perfect storm, a rivalry that blurred the line between competition and theater. So now I'll ask you, do you think Michael Jordan truly hated Reggie Miller? Or, deep down, did he secretly enjoy having someone bold enough to challenge him that way? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, hit that like button, share this with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe. We've got plenty more wild basketball stories coming your way. See you on the next one.